Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hey everyone, good evening.
I'm grateful.
Wow, we got the music cranked tonight. How are you all? I see a couple of people just coming in. Hopefully you're not shy, you say hello. Welcome to the AFIB show. We thought I'd kick it off a little late Friday night. Do sort of like late night with Big Northern Bear. See how that turns out. Plus it gave me a little extra time to prepare for this one because it's been quite a week. And so I hope you've all had a great week. I mean, I just can't wait for this cold gray bucket of suck called winter to go away now. Like I'm really just at the end of it. I've had it. I'm sick of snow. It's no longer pretty. It's lost its beauty. I'm just done with it. I want it gone, man. We had a couple sunny days. I went and got some good runs, and now I'm just craving it. Like it's just this winter's got to go. But I'm looking ahead to summer. And speaking of looking ahead, I thought, you know, what's coming around the corner for us people who have cardio problems, cardiac issues, AFib. There's other people I've been talking to lately, SVTs. There's all kinds of rhythm disorders. They're all like partially treatable or somewhat treatable or just controlled. I know a guy now who walks around with a defibrillator underneath his skin, wired to his heart 24/7, that saved his life twice. I mean, for me, I'm not sure that's like if you think you have a jack in the box for the heart with AFib, imagine being this person who walks around with a defibrillator in their heart, and if their heart just sort of pauses, it's just going off, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. And he tells me that'll just drop you right to the ground when it goes off. Like it'll just drop you right to the ground. And just every time I do a video and I get the comments, and I'm always reminded how lucky I am that I've had AFib in a form of AFib that seems like I can treat it with lifestyle medication. So, I mean, in some way, like I always make the point that, I mean, I'm 53. I could have got cancer. I mean, my dad got cancer when he was 39. And, I mean, that was it. So, you know, that's why I like to start the show with the song Grateful. Because it reminds me to be grateful, you know, even what you consider life-changing for the worse from someone else's perspective. I mean, they would probably trade seats with you in a hot minute. So let's all keep that in mind, and let's look ahead to the future. So I will admit I haven't gone into massive research for tonight, but it also happens in some cases to touch upon a topic that I'm growing more familiar with. So tonight I want to talk about AFib treatments and therapies and diagnostic methods that are like this close to coming out into the market. And this week and the last 2 weeks in the news cycle, you'd probably have to be living under underneath a farmhouse in the basement in an old bomb shelter to have missed all the news about ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT is taking over the world. And I'm going to tell you right now that I use ChatGPT both at work and sometimes to help me make videos. It doesn't write scripts for me because I think it's a terrible script writer. In fact, ChatGPT would be a great script writer for YouTube 10 years ago because that's the way everyone talked on YouTube. And it'll give you that perfectly. The way I use ChatGPT is the same way that I see cardiologists using AI now. And ChatGPT should, and other AI tools right now, they augment your existing skill set. So if you got onto ChatGPT and you said, okay, give me a list of 10 lifestyle things I can do to improve my AFib, it'll read them out. But it reads exactly like a Medline article. Like literally, it's like it took a Medline article and just cut and pasted it out to you. So it's always just going to give you the standard, widely known, widely accepted, most published answer. That's been my experience using ChatGPT. Now where ChatGPT and other AI tools shine is because they're based off a language model. I'm getting technical, but when I'll give you an example. I had to write a client an email on behalf of someone else, basically saying we're turning off your server if you don't pay the bill. And I didn't have the mental energy to deal with this nonsense. To me, this is a nonsense task. So I just told ChatGPT write the email for me. I thought it did a pretty good job, so I sent that email. Okay, my job is project management. ChatGPT can't do that. But it can help me with these little mini tasks, because when I write, I tend to do a brain dump. If you've ever seen my script writing process, I just do a brain dump. My goal is just to get it all out. I get into this flow state and I dump it all out. And now what I've been doing is I've been taking the brain dump, I throw it in ChatGPT and say, hey, clean up the grammar, clean up the punctuation, clean up the spelling. And it spits out a much nicer formatted thing. So that means when I'm typing my scripts, I don't have to worry about that stuff. I just worry about getting things out of my head and into my document, and then ChatGPT takes over. So we're starting to see this now. If you ever worn a Holter monitor in the last couple of years, probably artificial intelligence has reviewed your Holter monitor and given some data and some input to your doctor. So I'm going to start, maybe I'll start the show with that, and I'll show you a company right now. Share my screen. And I'll show you a company right now that is selling this service. Cardio AI. So this is a company that is marketing to hospitals and to doctors and basically anyone who has a lot of ECGs to interpret. Okay? And so we're going to go into why AI is really great at diagnosing heart problems. But this is on the market now. This is happening now. You don't even probably know it. If you're in ER and you're hooked up, there's probably AI watching your monitor in real time. And it's making predictions as to your outcome. And it's doing it based off probability. So what makes AI so powerful is it's not some magic thing like you see in the Matrix. What makes it so powerful is that, the example I like is with the self-driving cars. If one if a human gets in a car accident because they're following too close, okay? Gets in a car accident, they survive, they walk away, but they learned a lesson that you don't follow too close. When an AI self-driving car gets in a car accident because it's following too close, every AI car learns the same lesson at one time. So now imagine that, reading EKGs in real time in an ER. Every patient becomes training. So the patient goes in, they're hooked up to the monitor, they're brought through what's called, they're basically brought through if you go into ER and you need emergency care for your heart, there's an algorithm they run, and it's sort of like a flow chart. And they're like, okay, if this happens, we're going to shift and do this. If this happens, we're going to shift and do that. Okay, at this point now, check the pulse, check the breathing, check the airway, check for consciousness, check for circulation. Okay, when we know this, okay, so now we go here. It's an algorithm. Okay, and if a doctor screws up and loses a patient, he learns that lesson. But computers thrive on a logarithmic methodology. So when an AI is following that, all the AIs learn the lesson. Everything, every ER that is on that same AI system, let's say, will all learn that lesson from that one patient. So the power of AI, when they talk about machine learning, that is the real potential of machine learning. It's about being able to absorb just so much data and take the lessons learned from that much faster than any one individual could. So they're starting to turn AI now, and the power of AI is going to really come on strong with devices like this. So this is a future. Medtronic's wearable vest, non-invasive cardiac mapping. So if you've had cardiac mapping before, they put a probe up in your heart and you're underneath all kinds of machines, and they're hopefully triggering your dysrhythmia. And when they trigger your dysrhythmia, they want to map it, and they want to see where those signals are, so then they can plan an ablation. And I saw this really advanced hospital 2 weeks ago, and they actually had the mapping room, and as soon as they got the map, they just wheeled you right into the operating room and did the ablation based off the mapping right there. So now let's take this a step further. We have that whole mapping requires a surgeon, an EP, right? All this stuff. Well, imagine if you could put someone in this vest, no surgery needed. All you needed is an hour at the MRI available with an MRI technician. Put someone in this vest. Okay? This vest has all the sensors. You can see all the sensors. There's sensors on the front. There's sensors on the back. When the person wears it, they are in the MRI and they're secured. So they can't move their chest at all. They can't. They're like locked down for an hour. They just have to stay perfectly still. But compared to surgery, this is an amazing option. So it's non-invasive. It's no risk, right? So they go in the MRI, they'll have this scan done. It could potentially have an AI guiding the scan, right? And then you take the power of that, okay? And then the AI will obviously, just like I use ChatGPT to improve my weak points, a cardiologist can look at what the AI has discovered. And now that cardiologist becomes more efficient. And so now we can look at, instead of an EP having to go in and do surgery and maybe do 2, 3, 4 patients in a big day to map their heart, maybe they could do 30. Maybe he could do it remotely in these northern communities up in northern Ontario or Alaska that they don't even have a cardiologist in person. They could fly a vest out there. They have MRIs in the nearby cities. So this is a way to leverage the power of AI and add technology such as these upgraded sensors. No longer require surgery. Now you don't have the risk of surgery. You can get the map, okay? Another thing is a person, if you have a less busy hospital, the doctor could just say, okay, listen, come in when you have AFib and we'll try to squeeze you in and do this. You couldn't do that with a surgery. Just couldn't do it. So that's what the future might look like for us, is this rapid mapping, rapid low effort, low stress mapping of the heart, assisted by AI and the latest technology in scanning. Okay? So another thing they're talking about is we've all worn the Holter monitor and they suck. How would you like to wear a Holter monitor for 6 months? Well, with me, they've never actually got my AFib on a Holter monitor because my AFib is so far between. And this is actually a common problem with people newly diagnosed with certain heart rhythms. So they've come up now, again, with a vest, and you can just wear this every day for like a month, right? It's just a vest. It's quite comfortable. It's nothing stuck to your skin, irritating your skin. So this is another solution. And maybe I'll jump ahead from where I planned. It's in one of these tabs here, since we're talking about wearables, but we have this here, My Health Alberta. Now, we talked about my friend who has an implanted defibrillator. Hey, Corey. Brother, haven't seen you in a bit. Oh, yeah, they're still bothering you. Hey, let's see. Throw your comments up so everyone knows what we're talking. Palpitations really bad lately. Lots of fluttering. That's terrible, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Coughing, changing positions. That's rough, man. That's rough. I don't know if you've seen my 3-month update video for my palpitations, but if you haven't, go check it out, because it's the $20 a month in supplements that I've been taking, I've just gotten rid of mine. So I don't know if there's help there for you, but I think it's worth checking out that video, and I hope maybe you can give that a try, right? Yeah, one day with the Holter. I mean, I always have to wear it for 3 days, which I guess is the government limit of how much they're going to spend on anybody, but itchy, man. Day 3, and the thing is, when I exercise with the Holter and I sweat, and they won't even give me extra electrode pads anymore. So if those come off, I'm done, right? And okay, well, I run 5-mile runs out in the summer heat. So what they do instead is they use about 60 yards of tape and just turn me into a version of a human mummy. And I'd probably spend 20 minutes just peeling off the tape at the end of 3 days. So I would use this wearable vest in a heartbeat. I would just use this in a heartbeat. So, but here we have is a wearable defibrillator. So now you have a guy like my friend who needs a portable defibrillator, monitor his heart 24/7. Okay, it might be 2 months, 3 months before he can get the surgery to get the implanted pacemaker with the defibrillator. But he can walk out of emergency in Alberta right now. He can walk out of the ER with a wearable defibrillator that will keep him alive and will be his guardian angel until he can get that surgery. So this is the world we're going into now. And probably just give him an extra battery pack, so one's charging while the other one's there. Another thing about these wearable vests, and we're starting to see what they call the emergence of personalized medicine. So because the internet is now everywhere, if you've heard of the Internet of Things, the internet is everywhere, right? And everything's connected to Wi-Fi. Heck, my furnace is connected to Wi-Fi now, right? I have my Christmas lights connected to Wi-Fi. Well, they're doing the same with stuff like this vest. So they're getting 24/7 monitoring for you, going to a company like this Cardio AI, right? That's interpreting. And so, I mean, your cardiologist can't spend 7 days to look through 7 days of your Holter monitor, but the AI can do it in about an hour. You can just chug away in some cloud server somewhere and just chug away and analyze and can just bring the cardiologist, hey, here's the spots you want to look at, right? And here's my prediction. And just like, how accurate are these predictions? So this is out of PubMed. And by the way, I've put all these links down in the description to every single article. So don't feel like you need to scribble down the names of the articles. Because they're all in the description for you. You can go read them at your will, because I am not going to go deeply into everyone. But this goes into it gives you a basic primer on artificial intelligence and the definitions you're going to run into. So artificial intelligence is a technique that allows computers to mimic human intelligence, okay? Machine learning is a portion of artificial intelligence, right? And it uses statistical techniques to improve itself. So that a logarithm they run in ER when you have a heart problem, the doctor's doing it in his head. Well, the machine does the same thing with everything. And then it compares what happened versus what it thought was going to happen, updates its model, and that's called an iteration, and it will do just millions of iterations. So deep learning is when there's so much data available that it can do millions of iterations. And so it can look through, if it can look through 20 years of medical records, that would be deep learning. If the computer that beat the world champion at Go and chess both used deep learning, they just analyzed millions of games because all the games were logged and tracked. So they were able to analyze millions of games to come up with their own unique strategies. And when the computer played the world champion at Go, which is the most difficult game in the world apparently, it actually came up with a strategy that nobody had ever seen before, and it blew everyone away. So it's quite powerful. And so it actually looked down here, I'm going to get down to it, but you can see right now, and these studies are actually 8 or 9 years old at this point, but identification of certain arrhythmias. So different studies are compiled here, but sinus rhythm got it 100% of the time. Left bundle branch, right bundle branch blockages, 100%, 98%. PVCs identified them perfectly. Okay, so it's really good at that. And now you can imagine, and it's since these studies, it's had 6, 7, 8 years to apply that deep learning. So I would bet if they reran all these today, we would be up at 99.8%. Probably more accurate than first or second year doctors, I would bet. So, and because of that whole model we talked about where the collective learns the lessons of each individual data point with the artificial intelligence learning methods, where a human only learns from his or her own experience. So, I mean, AI is going to greatly change the way we diagnose and soon treat conditions. Okay, so here we have the Mayo Clinic researchers. They use an artificial intelligence-based screening strategy using electrocardiogram data, and they're determining your risk of a stroke. They're not using no Chad's VASCOR, okay? They're actually monitoring you in real time like your Apple Watch does, or your Fitbit. Take these devices like Apple's already doing it. The Apple Watch has artificial intelligence scouring for episodes of AFib. They're already doing it. Okay, so let's extend that. Everyone's wearing a health monitor. Almost everyone's wearing one of some sort already. So now everyone can potentially train an AI cardiologist. Okay? And that deep learning can occur across the entire developed world. Everyone's near Wi-Fi all the time. Now, whether that scares you or excites you, you have to admit that the ability for AI to predict strokes and predict heart attacks before they happen, right, is going to change the game. So, and a lot of it's going to depend, I think, partly on what type of model your country is for their medical system. So if you're on a socialized medicine like in Canada or in the US where you have private insurance plans, like I could see private insurance plans saying, hey guys, hook your Apple Watch up to our AI and we'll give you a discount because we can predict before your heart attack and we can tell you to go see a doctor and get on the meds to prevent that heart attack. Like I could see life insurance companies actually saying, we'll give you a discount if you do that. They were doing that with driving 10 years ago. If you plugged something into your OBD onboard diagnostic port for certain insurance companies, at least in Canada, they would monitor your driving habits. And if you weren't a start and stop guy, if you were driving nice and smooth and not driving crazy, they would just every month just slowly reduce your insurance rate based on your driving habits. So I could see this happening with life insurance companies, with private medical coverage. I would imagine if you have a well-managed social healthcare system that they would promote this as well, because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier and cheaper to treat in advance, if you can predict the risks, than it would be to bring someone into ER and have to rush them through all of that, right? So, Corey, when I was wearing one, I wasn't having palpitations. Yeah, yeah. Our hearts are like really funny that way. They like to hide their symptoms from doctors when they're watching. Like I help a lot of people get stuff on their computer working because I just happen to know a lot about computers. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone to another computer and they say, "Oh, well, it's not doing it now." And I say, "Well, it senses your fear." So I know it doesn't, but I feel like that when I talk to my doctor, right? So I feel like he doesn't see the palpitations I get. He hasn't felt them. So, yeah, and we as patients, we want them to do that, right? So let's have a look now. Now here we're getting really the next level stuff. Artificial intelligence guided screening for atrial fibrillation using ECG during sinus rhythm. So these are people, they're not an AFib. They're doing their ECGs when they're not an AFib, and they're able to custom tailor the diagnostics and screen them for AFib, even though they're not an AFib. I don't think any doctor can do that today. I think that is something only AI could do. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's something a cardiologist can do. If they can, let me know. I'd actually be relieved to know they could, but right now, like even your Apple Watch is on AI. It can only just make a good guess that you have AFib by seeing that you're an AFib. You can't tell based on your normal sinus rhythm. So that's really cool stuff. Other things we're going for is gene therapy. So I think if you saw the video where I talked about the way, or the live stream where I showed you how blood pressure creates the atrial stress and it creates the scar tissue inside your heart, or the fibrosis, right? So that's irreversible, but maybe it's not irreversible. So maybe things like gene therapy or stem cells, right? So here we have gene therapy. So the way gene therapy would work is it would actually, you would give instructions almost like code, because your genes are actually run on almost similar code to a computer. You're giving the genes in your heart, this is a really simple explanation, but build new tissue, build fresh tissue, like you did when I was a newborn and I needed to grow my heart bigger. That's the idea. So what could possibly go wrong? I don't know. But that's the idea with that. So the gene therapy, and in this article, they get into the different ways. So they can use a non-viral gene vector. So a vector just means the method of travel to your genes, okay, through your body to your genes. So there's non-viral and there's viral, and we're all familiar with the virals. The mRNA vaccines use the viral method. It's a modified virus, because viruses are really good at getting to where our DNA is and giving instructions to it. So I'll come back to this one in a minute. And while we're talking about ablations, and so you could think of it as a genetic ablation almost, but here's another one: personalized ablation versus conventional ablation. So the difference between a personalized ablation and a conventional is the personalized is using stuff like this with an AI, and then they're hyper targeting your ablation based on the patterns and the AI analysis. And they're comparing that to, well, what if we just do the standard ablation we do for flutter, or the standard one we do for AFib? Okay, so they're comparing the outcomes. And long story short, you can read through this because it really goes into the pros and cons. This is a very long article. Long story short is it shows a lot of promise, but it's not there yet. Now, mind you, this is written in January. There has been so much development in AI since January. It has moved. If you remember when the internet came on the scene and how fast that grew, how fast we went from having to go to the library to wait our turn to get on the computer and go on the internet to having it every house. AI is growing that fast right now. So, and now we have personalized therapy for atrial fibrillation with stem cells. So this is similar to the gene therapy, but stem cells are like blank slates, right? So when you take a stem cell and you hook it up to other cells, it just becomes that other type of cells, only it's not damaged. You can think of it as a fresh new cell. So they're looking at, going into your heart where the scar tissue is and putting some stem cells in there. And now stem cells are controversial because they could use, in the past, they could only get stem cells basically from, fetal tissue, which meant abortions and that sort of stuff. So of course, highly controversial. However, they've been developing techniques where they can just take normal cells and say, hey, you were stem cells once, revert back and become stem cells so we can use you for something else. So the controversy of stem cell research is going away because now we're getting to where we have a reliable source of stem cells that don't spark controversy. So, and the potential benefits of stem cell research are so monumental, not just for AFib and heart disease. I mean, for nerve damage, all this stuff that we once thought was irreversible. So that's something that might be coming. So I'm going to close a few of these tabs that we've looked at. Now this is a new type of ablation. Okay, so we're always inventing new materials, and this one sounds like Botox, right? Is it Botox? I'm not quite sure. I don't know a lot about Botox, but basically, it's a new type of ablation where they're going to go and they're going to give you the normal ablation around your heart. And after they do the normal ablation around your heart, they're basically going to go in and maybe it'll be a ring that's already made. Maybe it's 3D printed based off the scans of your heart to match the perfect size. But they're going to implant this ring around it. So not only do they put the scar tissue that prevents the bad signals from jumping across, but they're also then going to put a wall that doesn't conduct electricity in the form of these, these new polymers. Basically, this is the first type. There's several types in development, and it sounds like that's Botox. I don't know much about Botox, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's just Botox. So they're going to isolate it by creating scar tissue, and they're also going to isolate it by basically building a wall and implanting this ring right around it as well. So this right now, this study, as you can see, is unknown status. So they applied on this on the clinicaltrials.gov. When you do a clinical trial, the first thing you have to do is register saying we're going to go do this trial. You have to do that before you do the trial. Because if you do it after the trial, I don't consider it a valid trial, because then companies would only register the trials that were successful. So you actually have to register your clinical trial in advance. Okay, so this was registered, but it doesn't look like it's actually fully started yet. And if you were to read this study, and you would understand that the two methods here and the number of people they want to recruit, this is probably going to take 5 or 10 years to do. So it's not surprising to me there's no status update. So we have two arms. Obviously, we have the first arm, which is just an ablation only, and then the second arm is the knee ablation plus. Then they're using, I'll just say Botox. Then they're using the botulinum toxin, and they're putting, they're putting a puncture. Basically, they're just using an injection to build a wall of this artificial material that doesn't conduct electricity. So it's like a double ablation. And since they're in there doing it anyway, it can make the ablation a lot more likely to be successful. So I wonder what the outcome will be when they do this study. And they're going to follow the patients for 1 year after the procedure. So if they're doing, let's say, 10 patients a year, and they're going to do 100 patients, that's 10 years. Got to follow each one for a year. So this study could be 12 years running. So, I mean, as much as we want new stuff today, we don't know. This stuff can take a while. So, thanks, Corey. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, I mean, you can see there's so much stuff coming up, and all of it is literally just around the corner. And part of the frustrating thing of it being around the corner is that being around the corner, you're going to hear about it in the press, and you're going to hear about this stuff. But the question we always want answered, okay, well, when's it actually going to be available? This new miracle drug, this new miracle cure. That's the real question, right? Because you can't, stuff that works in theory and on paper and computer models, when you give it to the population as a whole, has unintended consequences. So you have to do the best you can. And the doctor's Hippocratic oath is to, above all, do no harm. So the medical science, if you're looking at the precepts or the founding ideals, let's say, is if someone's poisoned and you've got a vial of, maybe it's a cure, maybe it's not, it's kind of 50-50, 50% chance it cures you, 50% chance it makes it even worse, they're just not going to give it to you because it's a do no harm, and they risk doing you even more harm. So so that's why studies are so slow and cautious. At least that's how they're meant to be. So Corey, I'm glad you showed up, man. I went live a little late. It looks like I missed my normal core group, but I'm glad you're here. Hey, there's Big Seds there, man. Good. Hey, bro, just now seeing your live. That's okay, man. You can watch it later. You're like a busy guy these days. You're hauling ass. So we were just going through all the future AFib treatments that you're not going to need because you've had a successful ablation. So, okay. So I've got some channel news, and I see there's 9 people watching. So hey, give a shout in the chat if you're out there. Happy to engage, okay? So we got some channel news. So first of all, I feel that my atrial fibrillation, I think at day 905 or something, if I'm looking at the calendar, but I've had one atrial fibrillation episode in over 900 days now. And so we're going to do some travel. So I'm leaving the safety net of paid for social health care and going to do some international travel. So I don't want to say when. I don't like to advertise when we're going to travel. I rather tell people upon my return. But there's some international travel planned. So for the channel, to enhance my B-roll or the background footage, we picked up one of these, which is a 360 camera, and some of you may have seen some screen tests with it, and said when you get back more time into YouTube, man, this 360 camera is the bomb, man. You would love it in your truck. I love it in my truck, driving around with it. The edits I can do after is amazing. It's mind-blowing. And so that's some big news. And I have some travel soon. I won't say when, but I'm interviewing an ultra runner with AFib in person. So that'll be my first in-person interview for the channel. And so I'm looking forward to a good show. I have next week, YouTube is really pushing YouTube music as an alternative for podcasts. Yeah, okay, sure, man. I'll do that. For podcasts, and they're making it really easy if you're already a creator on YouTube. So I've actually been looking to sort of broaden my audience just a little bit, because I always feel bad when people join the live streams and they have an AFib similar condition, but it's not AFib. And I feel like the title of the show leaves them out, the AFib show. So for these podcast episodes, so they're going to be when I do interviews, probably not going to be live streams. It's going to be pre-recorded interviews, and I have some lines up, but they're going to be under the name of Cardiac Conversations. Okay, and they're going to be video, but they're also going to appear in the YouTube podcast area in YouTube Music. So if you want to just listen to them on the go, you won't need to. I mean, all it's going to be is two talking heads talking. The value is in the listening anyway. So they're going to be videos, and they're going to be on this channel. Nothing changes, but they're also going to be podcasts available on YouTube Music. So, and I believe I'm hopefully recording the first one Wednesday. But I don't know when I'll be able to edit it and get it out. So, and a really exciting guest, a successful YouTuber in their own right. And so I'm really excited. We've already met and had our initial meeting and discussed things. So I'm really excited. And I don't want to give anything away. But that's coming up. Another thing is I have gotten lots of requests. What supplements are you using for your heart? So, I mean, if you're going to order the supplements anyway, I put them on my website with some affiliate links. Cost you the same amount of money, but you help support the channel a little bit. You know how YouTube works, okay? I mean, this is my hobby, but I've spent some money on it. So if you can help a brother out, and if you buy your arginine from me at the same price you'd otherwise buy it, I mean, why not, right? So bignorthernbear.com. You can see, and I only put on the stuff that I actually use there. So I'm not trying to open a web store, but people are asking. So there's the list, and you can click and buy it and support the channel. Everybody wins. Okay. And you can see I'm not one of these guys who posts the $500 brands. My supplements are like the cheap ones, and they're effective, obviously. So, so that's the channel news, and there's lots going on, and I'm really investing myself in YouTube. I'm really pushing hard to grow this. I'm really determined. I'm at 950 subscribers today, so I'm nearing that magic 1K mark, and I'm kind of excited to see that milestone in my first year of putting out videos. So I'm really excited about that, and I've made some great friends along the way, and I like it when I see the same faces and the same voices in the chat, like Corey, said, Gail, and Gail, I think she's away tonight, but I mean, you get to know each other, and there's like a community going on, and that makes new people comfortable, and they come in and chat with us. So I think that's a wonderful thing. Yeah, almost at 1,000, man. I check it every morning. I'm like, at some point it's just going to happen. I don't know. It's more about going into the triple digits. It's sort of like that first real big milestone, right? So I'm kind of eager to get there. So, yeah, and I'm having fun, and I feel like we have a great community, and I really look forward to the live streams. I feel like the videos I do. I have a video right now. I spent 20 hours just doing the script, and I'm going to spend a lot of time doing the video. Every video I've done to this point, every single one without exception, I've tried to learn one new technique and employ it. Okay? One new skill, one new thing in my editor, one new method, one new way to cut, one new way to control the sound quality. Okay? On a live stream, I don't have to worry about any of that. I mean, live stream is a different skill set. But when you do the videos, it's quite time consuming. And so when you see the bigger channels with polished videos, there's like whole teams of people working on this. So I'm just me. And I'm trying to find that balance of, a video that's a good enough quality that lots of people will watch it. Because what's the point of making a video if no one wants it? Yet I can't spend so much time just making it watchable that I can't just get the information out and move on to the next information in the next video that I want to get out. So I'm trying to find that sweet spot. But this video I've decided I'm going to spend extra effort on, and I'm going to just try to take everything I've learned and just really fuss and really work and really just try to do this one awesome video, because the topic to me is really important and cannot be ignored. And so I really want to get it out there. And after I'm done, I'll be heartbroken if it doesn't get a couple thousand views. At least I'll be shattered. But I'm going to just, And again, it's going to be a learning experience. I'm going to take everything I've learned about editing and filming, and I'm by no means an expert at this stuff, but I have learned a lot, and I'm going to put it all into this video. And I hope when I release it, it does well. And we'll do it as a premiere so I can be in chat with people when I do. And yeah, man, thanks. I appreciate the shares. Absolutely. You know, it helps if you're in any AFib support groups and someone says, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should exercise. Well, share my walking video with them. The recent one I put out about walking. I mean, if you can answer someone's question with my video, with one of my videos, to me, that's so helpful. Because if I go into an AFib support group and I post my video, that's self-promoting. But you as a participant, if you're like, I found this video helpful, I did what this guy did, you post a video, that's allowed. So that helps me a lot. And Corey, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but my whole channel started with a video I posted on Facebook because I made that video on my treadmill called For Those of You Who Afraid to Exercise with AFib. And I just did on my video, and I literally did barely any editing. And I mean, it sounds terrible and everything, but I threw it on Facebook and it blew up on Facebook. It just blew up. I had thousands of comments on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, there's people really need this kind of encouragement. So I call that the treadmill video, and it's basically my first AFib video. And so, I mean, people in the support groups, sometimes they need to hear the positive voices, because those support groups honestly are depressing. A lot of people dwell in their condition and don't want to just do something about it. So I want to make videos for people who want to just try to do something about it. So this is a channel for them if you have AFib, SVT, whatever. And cardiac conversations, again, I'm going to try to focus on what can we do? How can we work better with our doctor? How can we make smarter choices with our diet? What commonalities do we have? Like if someone has a birth defect causing a heart condition versus AFib, I mean, what can we learn from that person? So I even know someone, maybe I can get him on the channel, but I even know someone who had a brain ablation. On two sides, a brain ablation. Imagine that. That's a future technology, because he's one of the first in the world to get it, and was developed here in Canada. So maybe I can get him on the channel one day on Cardiac Conversations to talk about it. So that would be pretty cool. So maybe I'm going to ask, see if they're interested. So anyway, said, Corey, everyone else, see a few others in the audience, I want to thank you for tuning in. I've rambled, so let's play us out and get some music going. And I just thank you all and wish you a wonderful weekend.
Let's go. Yo, I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look